Do you know, I just don't feel I can go through all this. I'm so sorry. Just if there's anything you see you want, Jenny, please just take it.
Oh, thanks, but actually, would you mind if I had the laptop?
No,
It's just I borrowed it sometimes, and there might be a file on there that I might need at some point.
Yeah, there is some files on there, actually. Jenny's Saucy Pics, I think I saw.
Look, don't react. It just encourages him.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 284 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that played in the escape room on Wednesday and made it to Talk of the Street Towers today with seconds to spare. I'm Gavin.
And I feel like I'm in an escape room right now. Let me out of here! I don't want to talk about Coronation Street! It's dumb!
They're scary things. You would sign this very long waiver. I don't know if this is true for all escape rooms, because this was my first escape room.
Uh-huh.
In East Lansing with my workmates.
Right.
Or co-workers.
Yes.
As they say here.
It's supposed to be like team bonding.
Team bonding, yeah. But all it does is tell you who out of your team is the bossy ones. Is pretty much what the purpose of it.
Don't you already know who the bossy ones are?
No, it came as a bit of a surprise.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Audrey.
No, it's not. No, she and I just kind of lingered in the background and...
Because you're the olds.
And things just kind of happened. I was happy that I was able to make some positive contribution to the whole affair. Mm-hmm. I made 2 positive contributions to the whole affair.
Yeah, you stuck something in a hole.
I stuck something in a hole and I put 3 things in a square. And that was enough to trigger exciting noises. But yeah, you've got to sign this.
Well, yes, it does typically trigger happy, excited noises when you stick something in a hole.
One would hope. So anyway, this waiver. You've got to basically release them of all indemnity if the ceiling collapses and kills you.
Right. Or if there's a fire and you're locked in.
You're waiving all your rights or your family's rights, I guess, because you're dead.
Right.
And there was something about this could be panic-inducing and
right.
anxiety-inducing if you're not used to confined spaces. This room, I think, was designed for maybe teams of 3 or 4, and there was 7 of us in it.
Wow.
So it was a little cramped. Mm-hmm. But there was enough room that you could kind of spread out. But yeah, it was very good fun.
That's good.
I thought watching Taskmaster would have helped me. Looking under tables for clues and
right.
things like that. But none of it really did.
Aw.
None of the clues that we found really made an awful lot of sense. It was all kind of trial and error.
Right.
Or maybe we just missed everything, but we escaped with 9 minutes to go, so
yeah,
we thought that was all right.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going to stick something in this hole. And it worked.
Well, it was the notch in the hole that I stuck my thing in. I had a little point at the top of it.
Right. Typically does.
Aye. And I thought it looked like the gun in the sight, and sure enough, slotted it in, and wouldn't you know it, it purred with delight as this just spread open. The doors just spread open, releasing the next clue. You alright? We're having technical difficulties. We'll be right back. All over the wall. I didn't. It was co-workers. Damn it, they'd fire me for that.
You work in HR.
Oh, yeah, just to make it worse. How are you this week?
Well, I think some of it got on my glasses.
Oh, Really?
Yes.
So I'm 50.
Powerful release. Anyway. Oh, God.
Stars you mean to go on. Filth.
Filth. We are
Just filth.
filthy people. Yeah, it's good. I finished cataloging the auction, so
Hooray.
I'm really happy about that.
Oh, hold on. Auction talk. Aye.
Stop it. Ugh. Yes. Yeah, so the auction is cataloged. So Monday, I just have to renumber some lots, move some things around in the order, and write the introduction. And then Tuesday, physically go around and change the numbers on the lots. And then I'm done. I am free until January 2nd.
Wait, hey.
Woohoo!
I've got an extra couple of days to work on top of that. But, yeah,
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, it does. We'll be ready to head east on the 22nd. Back the day after Boxing Day-ish, or Boxing Day. Something like that, wasn't it?
Aren't we leaving Boxing Day?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes. Talks are underway as to whether we're doing a podcast next week. If we are doing one, it'll be a shortened one.
Right, like two episodes.
Like doing Monday, Wednesday. And I think I'd like to do that because otherwise we're doing 7 hours in one sitting again, which
Sucks.
it's a lot of Coronation Street. Some would say too much
Coronation Street.
Yeah.
You know what? 3 episodes is too much Coronation Street.
I'm really looking forward to the half hours.
Oh, the half hours will be nice.
Yeah, that's what a soap opera should be.
Yes.
Half an hour.
And we get our Bethany back.
Oh, well. I'm not looking forward to that.
Really?
I didn't like her. I didn't like her character. I was quite glad when she left. I was pleased that she kind of took the piss out of Daniel a little bit before she left.
Right, yeah. But now she's going to come back and be all like defensive of Daniel and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that feels like a step backwards for that character, doesn't it?
Yeah, she was supposed to be going off to that London to get a journalistic career and put Weatherfield behind her and never be seen again kind of thing. And
now,
there she is.
Now she's back for more failed journalist Daniel.
Right.
Failed.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'm looking forward to that. But anyway,
it'll be interesting.
we will work something out, and if you see an episode drop Wednesday, Thursday, just act surprised.
I'll be surprised.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that festive Corrie news.
We still don't know why Aggie has gone missing, but at least now we know why we've seen less of Alia.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Sire Khan has announced she's expecting her first child, and she looks absolutely gorgeous in
She
the
does.
pictures released.
She does. She's quite far gone,
Yeah.
which is surprising. It's a 3-month thing, right? So
Right.
when she's in the show, it's kind of 3 months ago. So I didn't even notice that she was covering her bump up, or
Right.
if she had strategically placed furniture or whatever. Like,
She's behind the counter an awful lot.
was she?
She was
I
this
never
week.
really noticed, but yeah, good news for her. That's her first baby, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and her partner has been having some, health issues with this non-benign tumor
Oh dear God.
in his pelvis that has been removed, but apparently has since spread to his lungs. So it's benign, though.
That's a good one.
Y-
Yeah, because
yeah.
malignant's a bad one, right?
Yeah, malignant's the bad one. So, but it seems like they're both in good spirits, and like this is something that's really kind of brought some joy into their lives because they've had so much stress and
dear.
stuff with his health issues. So, all thoughts and prayers and joy to that couple.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
And we will miss Alia when she's out, presumably, on
Yes.
on the maternity leave.
Right. Which I'm assuming will be soon.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Oh,
Jenny McAlpine
Our fifth.
apparently is back at work and also, having a few cheeky wee drinks with coworkers after work before finally getting home to her children named after long dead Coronation Street characters.
excellent.
which is good.
Good,
because
she's coming back then because it was looking kind of touch and go for a while there.
I'm really kind of confused about why she's still gone, because wasn't she supposed to be managing a branch of the factory that one would imagine
that maybe would be
shut down
at this point,
considering all the stuff going on?
I don't know, financial difficulties. Yeah, that seems to have been kind of conveniently forgotten, hasn't it?
It has.
Oops-a-daisy.
It has. But God, does her family need her.
Oh,
Fizz
yes.
is desperately needed in that house.
Yeah, they're like 2 days away from eating over the sink and walking about with nappies on.
Right. By the time she gets back, everybody's going to have a nose ring. And finally, happy anniversary to Jane Danson and Robert Beck, formerly of Emmerdale, on their 18th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Finally, their marriage can vote.
Yes, again, he played Gavin on Emmerdale.
He doesn't look like a Gavin.
Guess if Gavin was a prick or not.
He was a prick.
He was a bit of a prick.
All Gavins on TV are pricks. Except for that one.
Gav.
Yeah. The one on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a prick.
He's all right.
We like him. And that's Corrie News.
That is Corrie News, and as ever, Helen, I don't know how you do it, but it just leads so seamlessly into our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Now, we have been doing this podcast for a while,
Just a wee while.
and for a while during this podcast, when we get to the end of the podcast, I say, if you've ever
Blah, blah, blah.
blah, 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 where the blah, 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 hopefully is something relevant to things that we've been talking about.
Right.
So last week, I think I said, if you've ever got Wordle in one go, write in to let us know about it. So Debbie wrote in to say, I always start Wordle with the same word, leash, and it recently came up. So yes, I have done it in one. Thanks very much, Debbie.
Congratulations, Debbie. You're better than us.
I also start my Wordle with the same word, stare.
Is it stare or stare?
Stare. Because S, T, and R are pretty popular.
And E.
E and A gets rid of a couple of vowels. And you normally get one letter. If that provides nothing, I go for mould, MOULD, or pinch, PINCH.
I can't remember what my starting word used to be, because I don't do Wordle anymore.
I've got back into it, which is why we mentioned it.
Yeah. I play 10 rounds of Tetris, and then that's my gaming for the day.
You play Tetris?
Yeah.
Is it the 1980s outside?
You've seen me play Tetris.
I don't think I have. I see you play Frozen and I see you play Pokemon.
I haven't played Frozen in over a year.
Wow.
I do still play Pokemon, but that's not really a game. It's not something you sit down and do, and then you're like, all right, I'm done with this for the day. It's, you don't have rounds.
Excellent. So, thank you, Debbie.
Yes. Thank you, Debbie.
Then Noel wrote in to say, jumping Jesus, I just looked up and saw Jenny in her face mask. I wasn't sure if she was from Saw or if it was a particularly bad, and he's written Kabuki. Now, I think Noel has been suffering from a little bit of autocorrect problems because what I think he means to say there is Bukake. Because the thought entered my head.
No, I think he does mean Kabuki. I don't think he's as filthy as you are.
What's Kabuki?
It's a form of Japanese theater, just like No. I think there are masks in No as well.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm just filthy.
You are so filthy.
I was sure he meant Bukake. So much so that I've said it again. It's a disgusting word. If you don't know what it means,
don't look it up.
Don't look it up.
Don't Google it.
And certainly don't Google videos on it. The story so far, Smile Daisy, you're on Separation Street. What is wrong with us? Smile Daisy, you're on Separation Street.
What's wrong with you?
Q Robert Smith. Look, Noel's written this. I think we should do our best to pay attention to it.
Yeah, you're the one who's accusing him of being filthy
Bernie's,
and not knowing about kabuki theater. What is wrong with you?
I feel like I've learned something tonight.
You are an uncultured swine.
Bernie's locked up for knocking the pink out of the Christmas tree, and Evelyn founded PETA on the street. God, don't we all love her? So it's another round of Where Am I? Please tell
Peter
me.
would have put that dog to sleep already.
Because I have no idea. Also, am I Noel or am I Noel? You're making assumptions. Later, scares. It's like, just tease. It's like, this is the escape room. These are the clues that we're getting in this escape room that we've created with our friend of the podcast, Noel.
Yes. Why Noel out of all of our friends? I don't know. I don't know what it is about Noel. Maybe it's his love for Japanese theater and not for Japanese porn.
Feedback is
Oh
always
my
welcome.
God.
Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out and I'll make assumptions about your autocorrect. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com and our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. And now we'll podcast have our coffee. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link where for as little as $2 a month. You can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. But remember...
And Gav will make filthy assumptions about your character.
And do that for free. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. And now, this.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about disaster strikes.
Uh-oh. Disaster strikes.
Would it help if I said it in a Welsh accent?
No.
Disaster strikes.
Oh, is this about the theater thing, the play?
That's
with the
right.
guy that we all assumed was gay and then turned out that he likes older women.
Welsh Nigel, yeah. This was a series of terrible news items about the play which seemed to be cursed. I was Gavin, and you realised this week that we forgot to bury the cat. We still haven't buried
Guess what?
that
We
cat.
still haven't buried her. She's still in her tin. Well, her ashes are still in the tin.
Yep.
I don't even know where she is. She was under the TV, but I think she's in a bag in the dining room at the moment from when we took everything down to put up Christmas decorations last year.
Hashtag never forget. I was
We are
completely...
terrible people this week.
I'm seriously worried that Santa's not going to come this year. I was complaining about being overworked unusually while you had a brainwave to shorten our stint out east. Summer gets caught in her own web of lies when Mike insists on accompanying her to her 12-week scan. The opening night of the play approaches while Ken juggles with the affections of Martha and Wendy. Griff's threats give Alia concerns for Yasmin's safety and she cuts back her hours at the law office. Tyrone gets to work on secretly organising his Christmas Day wedding to Fizz and enlists Gemma's help. That was a great idea, wasn't it? A secret Christmas Day wedding to someone.
Yeah, I would kill him.
Right. Simon loses a job no one knew he had, so Peter gets some work at the factory, much to Leanne's distress. Daisy finds a lump in her breast and discovers that she can't rely on Daniel for his support. Jenny doesn't get her hair done. Nigel is a glass half empty kind of guy, and Esther's had better weeks. Our moment of the week was Roy and Rita and Audrey trying to figure out if there was a horse in the play, and our boring moment of the week was Ken and Daniel sitting in the Rovers talking. And that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street, this time last year.
I have a feeling Daniel and Ken are not safe this week either.
I think I'm setting my sights on something a little more Scottish, but maybe not boring. I don't know. We'll get to it, obviously.
I know what my moment of the week is.
We will take a quick break, and we'll be right back with this week's recap. And we're back.
Yay!
Whew. You enjoyed the little break there? Shall we dive in, my dear?
Not with you, you filthy thing.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline tonight is Evelyn by Taylor Swift.
Aw.
On Monday, Tensions are still high at Tyrone's. His slippers are chewed to bits and Hope's still got her nose piercing, and the dog has been named Taylor, as in Swift, or as in Quality Guitars. The girls are unhappy that Tyrone wants rid of the dog after the week is over. Tough shit, he says. And the house is an absolute chaotic mess as Tyrone tries to get the girls ready for school. Hope refuses to remove her nose piercing as it's part of her identity. Her money, her body, her nose, she says.
Yeah.
My house, my rules, says Tyrone. Evelyn is walking Fred in the precinct when the horrible man from last week appears and accuses her of stealing his dog. She denies all knowledge but says that she hopes he never finds the dog. Meanwhile, back home, Cassie decides to take the new dog out for a walk despite Evelyn's insistence that she doesn't do this.
And despite the fact they have a backyard.
Right. Thinking that this is the reason why the dog is chewing up everyone's shoes. That might well be the reason why the dog is chewing up the shoes, but like you said, that's why they have a yard.
Right.
And Evelyn said not to take the dog out for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. A very good reason.
On the street, Evelyn is fucking furious to find Cassie walking the dog for fear of getting caught. Cassie poo-poos Evelyn's concerns, but as they get to the front door and open it, we see the ruffian man hanging around on the corner, and he sees where Evelyn lives, and he's seen his fucking dog.
Yeah. He's just hanging around like a bad... This guy has never been on the street before. He shows up once.
He's that character.
He gets mints thrown at him, and then all of a sudden he's on the street all the time now.
Can't get rid of him.
Can't get rid of him.
This happens an awful lot, doesn't it? Characters that you never see, never show up, not even in the background. Suddenly, when they're called upon to do one thing, they're there all the time.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, Audrey is one of those characters. She shouldn't be there. Later on, she'll be carrying about this journal rather than keeping it Grassmere Drive.
Right.
Because we never see Grassmere Drive.
No.
So we would never see the journal, so she's got to be constantly carrying it about.
Well, she
Go
does,
home, Audrey.
She does lend it to David.
Inside, Tyrone wants Evelyn to take the dog to Roy's, but Roy doesn't want Freddie upset. Freddie apparently is a bit high maintenance.
Right. And also, Roy makes a very weird allusion to fostering children and assuming that children can only be fostered one at a time by people, which is not how that works. If you have your own children already and then you want to foster children, social services doesn't make you get rid of your own children first.
Yeah, if we've learned anything from Home and Away, it would be that.
What is wrong with Roy?
In that case, says Tyrone, it's time to take her to the rescue centre. She's a cockapoo and people fall over themselves for cockapoos these days.
Yeah, it's hilarious that everybody this week is mentioning the fact that it's a cockapoo, whereas last week, nobody mentioned that it was a cockapoo.
No.
The Obamas have a cockapoo.
Evelyn tries to work on Roy some more, but he refuses to be budged and agrees with Tyrone. Cockapoos are extremely popular, so she relents. This is them just laying the groundwork for this dog has some value.
Right.
At the garage.
Because of the Obamas.
Pretty much. Tyrone has had a call from the school. Hope has been sent home for the nose stuff. She's violated dress code.
Which is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous that a little tiny nose stud will get you sent home. That's absolutely ridiculous. Do they not let kids have different colored hair as well? Would you get sent home for blue hair?
I've seen it happen.
That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. What if it's part of the kids' culture? What if it's part of their culture?
It was a brave attempt to find a synonym for culture, but...
You know, their ethnic heritage. A school could get sued for that. Lots of schools have been sued successfully for kids having braids and afros. So I think Hope could absolutely sue the school and let her have her nose ring.
Is it a real nose stud that she's got?
I don't think either one of them have a real nose stud.
They both seem a little high up.
Right.
I thought.
Yeah. And when they take them out later, spoilers, it's not realistic looking at all. Neither one of them have a hole in their nose, for example.
Now, when I got my ear pierced, my mum made a very big deal of this, despite the fact that since I was a little boy and fell in love with adamant, I always wanted to get my ear pierced. And she says, when you're 12, and she thought I'd forget about it.
Right.
And I did forget about it. But then I remembered when I was 14.
Right.
So I went and got my ear pierced.
Right.
Oh, and she was furious.
It was 14.
I can't say the word that she said that I looked like.
Yeah. Is it a word used in Fairy Tale of New York?
No, she never used that word. It was a word about travelling folk.
Oh, okay.
She said I looked like that.
Okay. And so not a homosexual then.
No. And I said, well, David Essex has got his ear pierced. And that shut her up.
You could still see where you had your ear pierced.
I could still put an earring in.
Probably.
There hasn't been an earring in it for 15 years, 20 years maybe. And I could put a paperclip in it right now if you wanted.
No, thank you.
Okay. Tyrone blames Cassie, who thinks that she's a bad influence. Cassie offers to pick up Hope from school, and this seems to actually have some value for Tyrone. Evelyn goes to her shift at Dev's as he rushes out to take care of some other business, and when Dev leaves, the horrible ruffian bloke comes in,
Right.
locks the door behind him. "Where's me fucking dog?" he demands, and he approaches Evelyn menacingly.
Right. Yes. Was he just like waiting right outside the door?
Yep.
Did Dev not bump into him?
No.
Did he not bump into Gary, who just left the store as well?
You know when Gary turns up in moments like this that there's a door that needs kicking down at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
Either him or Peter.
So the ruffian grabs her and gives her until the count of 3. Thankfully, Dev, as a muppet, has forgotten his keys and so rushes back to the shop and is confused when the door's locked and shown as closed. The ruffian puts his filthy hand over Evelyn's mouth, but she manages to kneel him in the happy sacks and shout for help. Gary tries to kick the door in while the man departs via the back door. Evelyn lets Dev and Gary in, and Dev calls Tyrone as Evelyn starts to cry through her ordeal there.
And Gary rushes into the back, but unfortunately the ruffian is gone,
Right.
so he can't kick him.
Tyrone, though, has
In the
problems. Yeah, Tyrone, though, has problems of his own as the man approaches him and just squarely punches him in the face. "Where's me fucking dog?" he demands again. And he's about to lay the boot into Tyrone when Ken appears and threatens to call the cops.
So the ruffian leaves out the back of Dev's, and the garage is back there?
Yeah, because there's a corner shop, so he leaves and he gets back in, and then I think it works.
Okay, I believe you.
Back at Dev's, he can't believe the guy didn't steal anything and reckons that Evelyn refused to open the till, which she denies, but Dev won't be told about this. Ken announces that the police have arrived, and Tyrone suddenly becomes twitchy. When Dev leaves, Tyrone tells Evelyn that she can't tell the police anything because she was the one who stole his dog. In comes PC Tinker, who agrees to taking Ty's statement at home,
In a vest.
where he can clean up his split lip. So at home, Tyrone has nothing to tell Tinker. He didn't recognise the guy, but thought he was a shoplifter. So Tinker goes off to talk to Evelyn and Ken and send more patrols out to catch this mystery criminal.
Yes, because he has that power.
Later, Tyrone makes a deal with Hope. If she takes her nose stud out, he'll replace it in 6 months with a nose ring.
Which is worse.
If she can be on her best behaviour until then.
A stud is tiny. A nose ring is
Yeah,
far more prominent.
you're
What is-
on, says Hope, and she takes the stud out. But secretly, Tyrone reckons that there's no way Hope can go 6 months without burning something down or taking a chainsaw to school, so there's no danger that she's going to have to get a nose ring.
Yeah.
That's his plan anyway.
Do you think the show is going to remember this in 6 months?
Let's make a note in our diary, shall we, for June to see if Hope gets a nose ring or not. At Dina's Rolls, it's closing time as Evelyn and Roy talk about the events of the day. Roy asks if she's worried the scoundrel might come back. She says she's not, but she's definitely unsettled, so Roy awkwardly rubs her arm. She's under the impression that Tyrone told the truth to the cops, and secretly she's very unsettled by these events to the point that she allows Roy to walk her to Tyrone's.
The arm rubbing and and how they both talk to one another like
it was
they're
nice.
dogs.
Yeah.
So cute.
At home, Cassie wants to make a few calls because she wants to get some bloke to find out who this ruffian is and beat them up, while Tyrone explains that he fobbed off the cops and warns Evelyn to do the same if she's asked. The last thing they want to do is noise this guy up. Hopefully this will be the end of it all. Hint, this isn't the end of it all.
It's only the beginning.
On Wednesday, Hope is calling Tyrone Daddy, and it's weird. He takes advantage of this by getting her to do some of the chores around the house. It looks like the plan to make her behave is coming together. Evelyn goes to see Tyrone at work with a bag of sugary treats for him, guilty for the fat lip that he's got. He tells her that it's fine and reckons that they can put all of this behind them now. But rather than it being over, the horrible ruffian man visits Tyrone at the garage. He knows that he's just looking out for his gran, but he wants his fucking dog back before 6 o'clock tonight, or he really will kick fuck out of Tyrone. And Tyrone doesn't
Want
say
to
a peep.
have the-
He doesn't say a peep at this.
Doesn't want to have the fuck kicked out of
He
him.
really doesn't. Evelyn and Cassie get home and Ty explains about the horrible ruffian man and his threats. So Evelyn says, look, enough's enough.
She values Tyrone more than she does the dog.
Yeah. So
Which
she
is
tells
good.
Tyrone where she took the dog. And so Tyrone rushes off to get her. But he gets halfway there, changes his mind, and decides to go and grass the guy up to the cops anyway. Seems his name is Terry. That sounds about right.
Terrence.
They worry about what he's going to do because not only can he kick the absolute fuck out of Tyrone, he can grass Evelyn up for stealing his dog. This is certainly a pickle. And at home, Evelyn is waxing her lip ahead of what she is sure will be a forthcoming visit to the magistrate's court. Tyrone insists that what she was doing was only in the best interest of the poor animal. All she'll get, if anything, will be a slap on the wrist. Then on Friday, Evelyn knocks Tyrone's front door and is nearly coshed to death by Cassie, who worries that she's horrible Terry. And that was maybe the least believable thing that happened on Corrie this week. The way she kind of came out the
Right,
house
yeah. 'Cause
waving
it could
something.
be anyway. It could be anybody.
Turns out Terry has been released on police bail today. So far, there's no sign of the ugly bastard. In these roles, Evelyn is trying to keep a low profile by wearing a high-vis tabard.
Right.
She's staying out the way of Terry and the cops, but Tyrone thinks that they'll have nabbed her. They would have nabbed her by now. So why haven't they?
And everybody turns and looks at the camera and says, They all have these thoughtful looks on their face. Especially Evelyn, who seems to have stolen PC Tinker's bright vest.
Yeah, the high-vis thing. Later at home, Tyrone's got an email from Roy that there's another dog like Taylor for sale that costs £1,500.
Which is actually kind of cheap for a dog.
Evelyn thinks this means Terry is running an illegal puppy farm, and she's determined to prove it. Now, there's a contradiction in terms, if ever I've heard it. The words puppy farm sounds delightful. A puppy farm? Loads and loads of wee puppies running about? What's not to love?
It's lots and lots of caged mummy dogs who live in cages and are forcibly impregnated and have lots of puppies that most of which die because they're kept in filthy conditions.
Oh yeah, it is horrible, but it sounds lovely. It's puppies, and it's a farm.
I don't know.
Who doesn't love puppies and farms?
I don't know. When I think of dogs and farms, I think of all those parents who lie to their kids and say they're dead dogs in a farm.
My dog actually was sent to a farm, though. That's Ross from Friends, wasn't it? Yeah. So Evelyn is determined to prove it. So that's what this story is about then.
Yes.
This guy's running an illegal puppy farm, and
Yes.
presumably Taylor Swift is the mummy dog to
It's one of them. Yeah.
all these cockapoos.
Right.
Wouldn't you want a poodle and was it a cocker spaniel? Is that what the two things are in a cockapoo?
Yeah, but also cockapoos with cockapoos make more cockapoos.
True.
Yeah.
I tell you, we're learning so much Japanese things and genetics. I mean, if you're not a friend of the podcast by now, I'm not sure what more we have to do
I
here.
think we're going to lose friends of the podcast after this week. Honestly.
Names the breaks. Anyway, that's as far as we get with that this week. So, yes, it's a puppy farm story, which I actually think, given the nature of how Coronation Street's been going over the past few years with its hard-hitting storylines, this is something I think I can actually get behind
Yeah.
straight away without
Absolutely.
thinking too much about
And
it.
of course, Evelyn is involved with this.
Right. And Roy's going to get involved with it.
Right, yeah. And the two of them will be, out doing mystery machine stuff in the Woody again. Mm-hmm. And so Evelyn will get another chance to be accused of giving Roy a blowjob in Woody by the police.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Best storyline ever.
Looking forward to that every time that comes up. Yeah, I mean, it feels fairly low stakes, but this Terry character He can handle himself.
He's horrible.
He really is. The way that they had him just completely lamp Tyrone
Right.
without saying a word to him.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Kinda took me by surprise a little
at
bit.
least Tyrone said, "Oi, what is this I hear about you going after my nan?"
Mm-hmm.
And then punch. I think it was much more frightening and horrible, the scene with poor Evelyn and the guy like holding on to her and covering her
His
mouth.
dirty hand over her mouth.
Ugh.
That's fucking Maureen Lipman. Get your hands off her.
Seriously, national treasure.
Nash Tresh, definitely.
Yeah. Not even my Nash.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was horrible.
It was very horrible. And to see her so shaken up, you don't
She's
see
never like that.
you don't see her get shaken up.
No, and she's come across ruffians in the past.
Right,
and,
yeah.
And always managed to hold her own. But here,
She's
no,
genuinely
she
terrified.
is. She's shaken up. And she's been shaken up a couple of times this week.
Just like Taylor Swift.
Right.
Now let's shake it
Not
off.
shaking it off. But
Yeah.
I think it's close enough. I don't think anybody would notice if we
Right.
didn't draw attention to it.
Yeah.
Like we're doing at the moment.
Yes.
Do you think that Hope will be able to keep her side of the bargain for 6 months?
Look, the show's going to forget about this, so it doesn't really matter what I think. I think it would be hilarious if she did, and like 6 months from now, she says, "Right, where's my nose ring?" And Fizz looks at Tyrone saying, "What the fuck have you done?"
Right.
Because a nose ring is so much more obvious than a stud, which is barely obvious.
Yeah, Fizz needs to go back pronto to,
Yes, she does.
to help sort this out.
Before poor Ruby gets her lip pierced.
Yeah, Ruby was quite annoying. Not going to lie.
The whole shouting, "Take it off, take
That-
it out, take it out, take it out," and then the drum
The
things with the
drums.
pails. Yeah, what are they trying to do to that kid?
Old Ruby wouldn't say booty a goose.
No, it's true.
And this one just seems to be noising things up.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, a little bit annoying. I hope that's not going to become a thing.
I hope so, too.
Because it really was a bit stressful when Tyrone's trying to get everything organised and she's screaming at Hope and Tyrone's shouting at Hope and Cassie's shouting at Tyrone. And there was just...
Yeah, it was just too much shouting.
God, just...
We have
This is-
families who
this is-
shout.
This is not why I watch Coronation
This is not
Street.
here.
No. All right, let's move on to the next storyline. The Diary of a Canadian Serial Killer. On Monday, PC Tinker is a babbling mess when he arrives at the salon with Stephen's personal effects in a brown bag. It's unclear why the cops have hung onto them for so long. David helps to go through the stuff with Audrey. The bag's got his laptop, his journal, his wallet, a broken watch, and his wallet has a picture from the TV Times from 1996 that gets Audrey all maudlin. PC Tinker comes back later so Audrey can ask about Stephen's finances and the situation there. And apparently Stephen was a tricky bugger with moving his money around the world. And the simple truth of the matter is the police don't have the resources to track it down. This gets Audrey all maudlin again. And she describes a young Stephen full of spunk before he went to Canada. At home, David calls over Jenny to see if she wants any Stephen stuff. Jenny would sooner burn the lot, but she spies a laptop. How can you tell if it's Stephen's laptop, Helen?
It's got a Canadian flag on it.
It's got a maple leaf on it and claims that
Same
she
thing.
has some files on it that she might need. And David's like, yeah, it's under the folder Jenny's Saucy Pics.
David is just full of it this week, isn't he?
Right. So Audrey gives her the all clear and Jenny leaves with it. Audrey's still a bit soppy, so cheers herself up by reading Stephen's address book. David doesn't think it's worth keeping a hold of a diary of a serial killer, although he reckons that they might be able to make some money off it. Audrey just wants to remember that there was another side to Stephen, different from the serial killing side.
Right.
On Wednesday, at the salon, David thinks it's weird that Audrey's spending so much time looking at Stephen's stuff, and for someone who doesn't work there anymore, she sure works there a lot. Audrey tells him to suck her balls and shut up. Then a teary Nick and Sarah are in Nina's roles later, talking about David's obsession with Audrey's obsession with Stephen's journal. David overhears this and tells him that Audrey has threatened to make Maria the salon boss if David doesn't shut his fucking pie hole about this whole thing.
I mean, it's just...
Right. They all meet up later with Audrey in the bistro, where she still has her nose in the journal, and she gives it to David to read, telling him that he might learn something.
Ooh.
So at home, David is taking the piss out of Stephen by doing, I guess, what passes for a Canadian accent. as he reads out some of Stephen's words of wisdom.
Hilarious.
But then he comes across something that suggests that Sarah might have a different father from Nick. An Australian bloke. David is keen to show Sarah, but Shona doesn't think this is anybody's business. And
the
she's
voice
right.
of reason.
And she's right.
The woman shot in the stomach with a brain damage.
With her brain damage.
Yes. With a damaged brain from being shot in the stomach.
On Friday, Indiana rolls, Roy ropes David into moving some supplies, and while he's doing that, David's winding Sarah up about stuff that she doesn't know, and eventually tells her just straight out.
Well, and Sarah's also winding David up.
Right.
They're winding each other up because they are siblings.
Tells her that Gail didn't know who her dad was for sure. Shona's furious, and Sarah is hurt. And Sarah storms off to see Gail and confronts her about the identity of her dad. Nick starts to cry. Gail doesn't deny it, and apparently this was a thing after all. And it was. There was some question marks over Sarah's parentage
Right.
before she was born. I can barely remember it, because obviously it was like, 40 years ago?
Yeah. You were 10.
Right. And watching Coronation Street. So.
Watching Coronation Street.
And Gail's unapologetic about this. Sarah seems to take this really badly, and it becomes more furious and storms off again. Gail goes to the salon to slap David's wrists about the Sarah thing. David isn't interested in taking responsibility for any of it and wanders away. Gail says this family has been through hell and they should be supporting each other. She thinks David should apologise. Audrey wants to know the goss, so David explains, and it becomes clear that Audrey was the one who blabbed to Stephen in the first place.
Right, which is hilarious because she's like, no, I didn't. Why is this all of a sudden my fault?
Right.
David, give me that diary back.
Gail speaks to Sarah and admits that she got her hole off her dad's cousin because
The
her
Australian.
dad had been unfaithful. I never felt right talking about my sex life with my dead husband to my daughter, she says. But Sarah thinks this whole thing could have been important information when she was dealing with the whole Adam and Damon thing.
And lost her baby.
And I'm not sure how.
Well, it would, she would be able to commiserate with her mum about cheating, and she wouldn't feel like such a failure because her mum did the same thing. But doesn't she know that her mum cheated other times? Because she did cheat other times, didn't she? Wasn't there a spate where like everybody was cheating on everybody, and it was like the theme of the show because that's what soap operas were like in the 80s?
I don't really remember Gail doing the cheating. I remember Gail getting cheated on.
Right.
And marrying a serial killer when it was Gail's turn to marry a serial killer.
Right, yes.
But
at least no one married Stephen. So
well,
at least we have that.
Apart from his ex-wife.
Right, yeah, but she
got
doesn't
out
count.
alive.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sarah was the one who cheated on Adam.
Right.
So knowing that Gail cheated on Brian, I don't know how that helps. But Sarah seems to
Right.
think that it would, and that's...
And she's also ridiculous because Gail's trying to explain why she cheated, and that she cheated because he cheated on her. Mm-hmm. And Sarah gets all mad and defensive, like, don't you dare turn this back on Dad and defame Dad's good name, sort of thing. And it's like, he cheated.
Yeah, what do you want from me here?
Right, yeah.
I've got to be the baddie?
Right, yeah. So, cheating is bad no matter what, but it's worse when a woman cheats. Let's
Yes.
put a pin in that for
Yes.
later, shall we?
And all women can agree on this. Because remember, this is a conversation between women.
Right.
Written by a man. Eventually, David comes in and apologises. He says that he doesn't think this was a big deal. Audrey comes in as they're all continuing to argue. Gail thinks the journal wants burning, but Audrey takes it home with her and leaves. Typical fucking Stephen. Still winding people up from beyond the grave.
Right.
And later at number 8, Nick has joined Sarah, David and Shona. There's a plat chat message from Gail saying that tomorrow they're going to do something nice as a family and it's all for Gran. Be it number 8 at 11 or Elsie.
Yeah, and then there was another message that said, David, don't move.
Yeah.
And their phones are all dinging at the same time.
Yeah, that was
And they're asking questions of one another and then asking the question to Gail. Mm-hmm. And it's the four of them together.
It was quite funny.
It was great.
Yes.
More of this, please. This is why the Platts are the favorite family of Coronation Street.
This plat chat thing it's paid dividends, certainly.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
And it's the idea that Gail can still get a laugh despite not being in the scene.
Right.
That's pretty good going.
That is. You know, the Barlows don't have a group chat. Can you imagine?
Steve and Tracy would be fine.
Right.
The men.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Adam might make it spicy.
I'm kind of going off Adam a bit this week.
Well, yes. And Peter.
This Peter, no way. While this is all going on, Jenny is snooping around later on Stephen's laptop and finds a password-protected file called, I don't know, Infinity Rocket Plastics or something.
No, it's the seagull thing.
It's the most recently used file, and it was modified on the day that he stole from the factory and then promptly died. Jenny takes the laptop to show Carla and explain about the dates. What if there's bank details in here? Carla agrees and wants to take it to the cops. So at the cop shop,
Swain.
Swain explains that they've found the file in his cloud storage already, but they weren't able to crack it, and they don't have the manpower to assign to it. The murders take priority. That's that fucked then.
Swain. It's so funny because then her phone rings and she's like, oh, I gotta take this. And she takes it. We hear her say, Dear Swain.
And in the background on the phone you can hear just a little tinny version of that.
Right. It's kind of hilarious though, because neither Jenny nor Carla stop to think, wait a second, the cops already had this laptop.
Yeah.
And then they gave it back to Audrey, and Audrey gave it to Jenny, and then Jenny's trying to take it back to the cop shop where they've already seen this. Well, they've already tried to crack this file.
Yeah, they're aware of the file.
Right, yeah.
So they don't have the resources to try and crack a password.
Right.
Or they don't have an ethical hacking team in Weatherfield's police station. No doubt Swain will be going on a training course next week or whatever to figure this out. And they also don't have the resources to track down the money that's gone missing.
Right, yeah. Because dead people take priority.
That's right. So,
but they still have time to, drag Amy in and harass her and Peter.
So Audrey pops into the cabin and speaks to Carl and Jenny, who are still working on the laptop. Audrey talks about the journal that's full of Stephen's secret thoughts. It's nice that Audrey feels that Carla, who Stephen defrauded and drugged, and Jenny, who Stephen threatened to kill, would be interested in this. But they are, because they think that the password may be hidden in that journal.
Yeah.
Tough titty, though, as Audrey leaves with a plan to read the journal? To read the journal from cover to cover at Grasmere Drive.
While eating fancy chocolates.
Yep.
Which is the fanciest box of chocolates they have is the first one that Jenny's hand touches.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
Quite a lot going on in that. That was pretty interesting and pretty good. And David is, I don't know, when he's not really the main focus of the storyline.
Right.
Just in the background when he's swinging around in a chair and not really giving a solitary fuck about anything.
Right, and he's got all these great one-liners.
He's kind of good value.
He's so good value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff, and with him and Shona.
And I love him.
A tearful Nick and stuff.
And Sarah.
And Gail.
I actually like Sarah when it's sibling time.
Yeah.
When she and David are winding one another up. That's good value right there. And
they've been consistently like that over the years.
I know. I love it.
And that's, I think, why it works so well.
Right.
Because they've been doing it for so long and they kind of know the beats of each other's conversations.
They practically are siblings.
Yeah.
They probably spend more time with each other than they do with their own siblings.
So it's really, really well done. And then add on to that, we've got Jenny with this laptop, which is kind of intriguing as well and suggests that maybe, I mean, if there's a file, we're going to get into the file.
Eventually.
They're not going to have a file with a pass. Oh, well, that's that then.
They just got to hand it to Sam. Sam will crack it.
And probably Big Garth knows somebody who can get into it.
Yeah, it'll be Sam. He's the smartest person on the street.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this week. interesting seeing Jenny and Carla working together again. You don't see
Yeah,
an
that's
awful lot of
nice.
them sharing scenes, and seeing Carla in the cabin's quite amusing because you don't really see her in there that often. Yeah, this is just a nice storyline just to freshen things up a little bit.
I hate to say it, but I kind of like Jenny in the cabin.
Yeah.
Especially there's a scene later on with her and Rita and Ruby.
Ruby being an asshole again.
And I just love it. It was so good because kids are like that. And you have to be a Rita about it and not a Jenny about it.
Jenny's up on the stool at the sweets, the loose sweets that are in the big plastic bottles.
Right.
While Ruby tries to decide whether she wants a cola cube or a flying saucer or something like that, and
A lemon or a raspberry.
You can see Jenny saying, "What the love of fuck? Will you hurry up?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah. She's like, I'd much rather deal with drunks.
So long as she's behind a counter serving people, I think that's. But that's that different clientele. She's serving
Right.
Ruby as
Right.
opposed to getting a pint of zero for, I don't know.
Simon.
Right. slip, Simon. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah, I'll be keen to know what this means when they find the money. Because, again, I'm assuming that they're going to. Where does that money go? Is that Audrey's money? He left everything to Audrey, but this is stolen money, so it should go back to
the factory.
Right.
But let's remember that Audrey is desperate to get her house back.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of people that are after that.
Yeah.
And Jenny's bound to think that she's due some of this for nearly being killed and stuff.
Meh.
Some kind of compensation. So she can buy the Rovers. So everybody wants a little chunk of this, and this could be pretty interesting going into Christmas. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah. Stephen, the gift that keeps on giving.
Indeed. Our next storyline tonight, our penultimate storyline tonight, is Dick and Dom. On Monday at Speed Dial, Stu has completed today's prep. Yasmin wants to brainstorm for this Christmas idea, but he has an important meeting to get to, so let's Yasmin and Alia pick up the hard work on this idea for Christmas opening. And Stu's meeting is with his PI in public at the bistro. They go through Dom's rap sheet. He had no TV licence, no car insurance, but then she mentions something a bit juicier. In Germany, he got done for dangerous driving, whilst possibly drunk. It's not interesting after last week.
Right, yes, that everybody seems to have forgotten.
Well, for now.
Yeah.
He had passengers, a woman and a child. Isn't that interesting? The PI isn't sure, but the woman was his fiancée and the child has Dom's surname, so this looks like Dom has another kid.
He has a secret family.
Stu thinks this is a game changer, and he leaves the PI to confirm the details, but then Yasmin comes in curious to know who the PI is. So the PI claims to be Stu's support worker or something, and they just bumped into each other. Yasmin is fascinated and made her questions, but thankfully Stu reminds the PA of some place she needs to be so she can make her excuses and leaves.
Do you know what I like about that scene? Not 1 second, not one iota is Yasmin jealous or suspicious of Stu having a meal with another woman.
Yes, because didn't that look like where it was going to go?
Yeah,
And it didn't.
I know.
It never even went close to it.
Right?
All she's interested in is just what you'd be interested in if you saw your friend with another person.
Right,
It's like,
yeah. Oh, how do you know one another? Yeah, and I think she's the one who makes the assumption first that it was like a social worker or financial advisor or something.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was really refreshing.
good shout.
Yeah.
Back at Speed Dial, Eliza pops in after school to scrounge some free food. Stu clumsily starts quizzing her about Dom's German connections, which Eliza is oblivious to. Yasmin notices though and wonders what he's digging for. Stu claims to be just taking an interest. And later, Stu gets a call from the PI confirming that the child in the car crash was Dom's son. Apparently, Dom's been on a charm offensive recently in Germany and may be planning a return. And at this, Dom arrives to pick up Eliza and Stu arranges to have dinner tomorrow. Now Yasmin is super suspicious, and Stu again claims that he's just trying to get to know Dom better. This is what you wanted, right? On Wednesday, Stu spins Yasmin a line that he needs to take the day off to speak to a financial advisor, but instead he's meeting up with Dom in the bistro. Stu tries to be clever and mysterious, but ends up just blurting it out that he knows that Dom has a family in Germany, and it turns out they did smell booze on Dom last week. Well, why didn't he say something?
Why did you let Eliza get in a car with him then?
That's so strange.
It's so strange.
It was strange enough that he didn't notice what we could all notice.
Right.
That Dom was clearly pashed.
Right.
But he did notice it and just let it play out
let
anyway.
her go with a drunk man?
That feels like if anything had happened, that Stu would have kind of been responsible in
Right.
part for that.
Him and Yasmin, because they both just let them go.
Ugh. Dom needs to go for a shite, but when he comes back, he's angry that Stu has been spying on him, calling Stu's obsession unhealthy. Stu doesn't care, and it sounds like Don's German family would go ape if they learned about Eliza, so
Which is weird.
Stu cuts to the chase and offers Dom that 10 grand again to fuck off to Germany and leave Eliza with him. They go back home, and Dom announces that he has to go away for work, so he hands his tickets over to Stu and Yasmin for the Christmas concert thing. He leaves and tells them that he'll see them soon. Stu hides the 10 grand that he's got in a duffel bag under the Christmas tree, where surely no one will look for it. So Dom and Eliza go to Nina's Rolls, and they talk about her moving to Wethy High, and she sings Stu's praises about how she loves moving to the new school and she's got new pals now, and Stu always has the best of intentions for her, and this seems to get Dom thinking. So he shows up at Yasmin's later. He's looking for a favour. His work is now taking him to Germany for some very urgent work. He'll be leaving after the concert tomorrow and won't be back until Christmas Eve. Stu practically forces the money on Dom, who doesn't seem to want to take it, but he does just before Eliza and Yasmin come downstairs. So on Friday, Eliza arrives at Yasmin's with a suspicious amount of stuff. It's like she has all her worldly belongings for this week that Dom's going to be away.
Right.
And Stu just watches on silently. So Eliza's all packed away, and they're about to go to the concert when Eliza starts shitting herself. Dom says how he's so proud of her and kisses her pow, and this makes Stu uneasy, but he stays quiet as everyone leaves. We don't get to see the rap concert.
I know. What the fuck?
Oh, thank God.
No, I wanted to
no.
see that. It's Mary's one-woman show all over again.
It's nowhere near that level.
Maybe
Did
not for
see
you.
Eliza and Sam practicing their little handshake thing in Nina's Rolls? That was bad enough.
Apparently, what really set this rap apart was the fact that Sam played the triangle during their rap. Who doesn't want to see that?
And apparently, for the 4th year on the bounce, Brian was hoisted up on a rope and swung over the school governors, where he was horrendously violently sick all over the governors. We don't get to see that either. But it definitely happened.
How is it that we did get to see that once, but we never got to see Mary's one-woman show and we never got to see the rap?
Yeah. Afterwards, though, Yasmin invites Dom in for a drink while Stu looks like he's papped in his knickers. Dom leaves with a promise to see Eliza at Christmas. He gives her a massive hug, tells her to have a wonderful week, and says how much he loves her, and then he leaves. Stu remains silent until he mutters a cheerio. Yasmin can't help but feel like Dom is hiding something from Eliza. He was so fucking emotional. And Stu just nods. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
What the actual? I mean, it's just...
So Stu is having some kind of remorse about this.
And all of a sudden...
regret.
And all of a sudden, Dom's a good guy? And doesn't want the money anymore? And loves Eliza?
See, I feel like he's been kind of moving in this direction a little bit over the past few weeks, while still doing things that are horrible and unreproachable.
Sketchy. Right, yeah. And Stu is most definitely the bad guy now.
Yes.
He's the bad guy, and Dom's the good guy. What is going on? Only one of them looks like Santa Claus.
That's true. We've only seen one of their testicles. Which one was it again? I can't remember.
I can't remember. They were blurred, sadly.
Maybe that's just how they are.
Maybe.
Pixelated
testicles. It's such a confusing story because we felt like from the very beginning, oh, here we go. You know, the mom doesn't want her to have anything to do with him. He was secretive and kind of sketchy to begin with.
Right.
Doing things absolutely the wrong way by approaching the child first as opposed to the guardians.
Yeah, and he took Eliza in and just let all that kind of play out, no matter how much distress it was causing and how much upset it was causing. Just because
Right.
Eliza wanted to do something, therefore Eliza gets to do that thing.
Right, yeah.
So he wasn't really the adult in the
And he
situation.
was like complaining and you know, giving her shit food and
letting her
you know.
watch horror movies and stuff.
right and stay up really late.
But then, now that we've seen him in this kind of
But he still
set
loves
of
her.
episodes,
Right.
he's been far more responsible this week. I mean, he was drunk last week, but
Right.
again, every time he does something good, there's something bad
Right.
right behind it. So I don't know how we're supposed to feel about him. Well, I do know. We're supposed to kind of be on his side at the moment.
Right.
And you're right, we're supposed to be
and
thinking
hate
that...
Stu.
And I think I do, but I think I hated Stu far before we got to this.
Right. Before we hated both of them.
Yeah,
And Eliza.
pretty much.
And we only loved Yasmin.
Yeah, Eliza seems to have settled down a little bit as well. Yeah, the message is just so mixed and confusing that...
Right. It's all over the place.
I mean, I don't hate the storyline as much as I used to, but is the end of it that Dom just doesn't come back from Germany? Or is it that Stu's going to go out and bring him back? Or
Yeah, but
send
then
Eliza
there's-
out? Or
But then there's another family out there who's going to be missing their dad.
Right.
So how does this play out? Do we
Yeah,
just
I'm not sure. I'm not
do-
sure what direction we're going in.
Do we just lose Eliza?
No great loss. No harm. No harm to the lassie, but what do we lose? I guess Sam loses the companion a little bit, but he's
Yeah.
supposed to be with Hope.
Right. He can still have friends that are girls, though.
They can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Milkshakes and stuff.
Eliza's milkshakes bring all the voice to the yard.
No, remember they were having a milkshake together, and then Dom
Oh,
came
sure.
in, and then Dom got a milk mustache.
He's got a little bit of milk mustache.
Yeah.
Again, that just softens him up.
It does. And the fact that he's nice to Eliza's friends as well and doesn't mind her hanging out with them. Whereas before it seemed like he was going to be really clingy and not let her be on the street at all and, you know, come right home sort of thing.
But then we still have this drunkenness that's...
Right. And forgetfulness and just letting her do whatever she wants.
And you really need a huge amount of goodwill that's going to cover up the fact that he was essentially drunk driving with his kid in the car.
Right.
That takes a bit of rehabilitation, right?
He's now drunk driven with both of his kids in the car now.
So it would seem.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Oh well.
moving on then. Our final storyline tonight is Mr. Osbourne is still a Fanny.
Oh my God. So much. So much so. It's just
Let's remember,
absolutely the worst.
We've always thought he was a Fanny.
Right.
And now the show's saying to us, oh, Mr. Osbourne has got this new kind of dark side to him.
No.
It doesn't change anything.
No.
He's still a Fanny.
Yes. But remember that pin we stuck earlier?
We're remembering that. We're
Yep.
remembering that.
Yep. Let's all remember now. Cheating is bad, but it's worse if you're the woman.
Right. Especially if a man's writing your words.
Right.
On Monday, in Nina's roles, Carla isn't happy to find the gym is rehiring that position that they'd offered Ryan, or that Ryan is immigrating to Glasgow.
Is that really immigrating?
No.
No.
She's concerned that this is a knee-jerk reaction, but he thinks it's time for a change, and he's up for the challenge.
And Glasgow is lovely and has good food.
He leaves to do some errands just as Daisy comes in. Carla gives her the evil eye as she joins Daniel and Jenny, who are sitting behind. Daisy is having a hard time finding alternative employment.
Yes.
Daniel annoyingly thinks that the day will get better, and he arranges to meet Daisy on his lunch break. And he goes to see Ken to ask him to look after Bertie for the day. He has a surprise for Daisy and is excited because he reckons that the two of them are stronger than ever. Additionally, he's going to ask Daisy to officially adopt Bertie, which Ken reckons is a splendid idea, as it, for once and for all, removes all traces of Sinead from the wee boy's life. So, at lunchtime, Daniel blindfolds Daisy and leads her into the Rovers, which she had already worked out because of the smell.
Right. And also the trauma.
His big surprise is that instead of buying a flat, they should buy the Rovers and they should run it. Daisy is less than impressed, possibly remembering that Jenny couldn't make it profitable, so there's fuck all chance that Daniel will be able to. And plus, folk actually like Jenny.
Right, yeah. Daniel seems to think that he's more qualified than Jenny to run a bar.
Daniel is confused. He was expecting praise, but now he doesn't know what's going on in Daisy's mind. He thought she would love to be back in a place where someone tried to blind her with acid. Daisy's had enough and leaves for air. And Daisy goes to Nina Rolls, and it's not long before Ryan comes in, and they have some awkward small talk about her job hunting, and he announces that he's off to Glasgow with Crystal. She pretends to be happy for him. Didn't he have his heart set on the gym job in Manchester? Wouldn't he rather stay?
Daisy. Shut up, Daisy!
Ryan wonders if she gets whiplash from all these 180s that she does. He tells her nothing is keeping him here, and then comes Carla to have a cuppa with Ryan, and she throws Daisy some more filthy looks. People say gym job far too often this week.
Gym job. Gym job. Gym job. Gym job.
So Daisy gets home to find Daniel peeling spuds. She apologises for earlier, and he apologises for springing it on her. That said, he wants to know if she's on board. She still hasn't made up her mind and asks to sleep on it. So on Wednesday, Daniel's still pretending that he knows the first fucking thing about running a pub, but Daisy thankfully isn't sure that they can succeed where Jenny failed. Daniel thinks that Jenny is a fucking idiot and doesn't understand what Daisy is so against. He thinks he's doing this for the community because life is rubbish, and so is he. Daisy goes to see Jenny, who has a face pack on and looks like Michael Myers. She's thrilled to hear that Daisy is interested in buying the pub and is confused why Daisy isn't more enthusiastic. This is her chance to save the pub, a place she loves despite the acid attack. Jenny offers to run it with Daisy, which is a very charitable thing for her to suggest to do.
Right, yes.
So they head off to Nina's Rolls for a cuppa. Jenny thinks the two of them will be like Cagney and Lacey of slop trays again, and she can't wait.
Daisy doesn't know who Cagney and Lacey are.
Or probably slop trays. Daisy still isn't convinced until she realises that she'd be the boss. And this seems to dampen Jenny's spirit a little bit.
It does.
Daisy runs into Ken on the street. He's keen to know what Daniel's big surprise was, so Daisy tells him about the pub, and he's excited for her. Between this and adopting Bertie, she won't know whether to cheer or shit her pants, he says. And Daisy's like,
Do what now?
Ruh-roh.
Do what now?
Meanwhile, Daniel is bumping into Ryan. Daniel is touched that Ryan took his advice about moving to Glasgow. This is for the best. It'll be cool to get away. And this makes Ryan suspicious as fuck, so when Daniel goes off to see Adam, Ryan tells Daisy that Daniel knows. Like, knows.
Yes.
Daisy doesn't think so, but Ryan mentions the video that Simon might have seen, but Daisy, while annoyed, reckons that she'd know if Daniel knew and refuses to believe it. So she goes home and asks Daniel about the Bertie thing, asking if maybe she should know first. Daniel says that he just got carried away talking to his dad, and that notably there is no apology from him.
No, none whatsoever. He's like, yeah, maybe I should have told you anyway.
Right. He thought
anyway, why are you upset about this?
He thought it was a lovely idea because he thought Daisy loved Bertie. Daisy thinks this is a pretty fucking low blow, and he's throwing an awful lot at her. He says this is the new him, an even bigger prick than the old him. And they're engaged. What's the biggie? So Adam comes over later with the paperwork.
And his mum's dead, so...
to start adoption proceedings. But they don't get far into it when Daisy has a whitey and says that she can't do it, not right now. And that scene was just... I mean, I guess some people are anti-Daisy and all this because she was the cheater.
Right, yes. And women who cheat are worse than men who cheat.
Right.
Because Daniel has never cheated on anyone.
No, especially not anyone that's dying.
Right, yes.
So I guess there are people that are in the anti-Daisy camp. But I felt so sorry for her in that situation.
Seriously.
Because she's stuck in that flat. She's got this paperwork thrown
Shoved
under
in
her face. There's a lawyer sitting there,
right.
albeit Adam. And her asshole boyfriend, who's just suddenly become an even bigger asshole in the
right.
last 48 hours. She's like so under pressure to do this.
And it's like, you can tell that she's conflicted, not because she doesn't love Bertie, because she does love Bertie, and she's
apparently.
she's the only parent who seems to really honestly care about him.
Right.
She's the only one who reads to him.
Yes.
When was the last time we saw Daniel do anything with that child?
Oh, there's been a couple of times when the storyline has dictated that he's seen with his child, but
Right, but he's not doing anything with them.
mostly the only thing he does is palm the kid off on Ken or Beth.
Remember that hilarious time that we were supposedly at Bertie's eye level looking up at Daniel? And Daniel was saying, "No, Bertie, no, stay. You have to stay here with Granddad."
Oh, yeah, that was during COVID, wasn't it? Where we weren't
No,
allowed to
stay.
see.
Stay, child.
Sit.
Roll over.
Good boy. Go fetch. Quickly shut the door. Run away.
Oh, he's like the worst parent ever. And all of the parents on Coronation Street are terrible, except for Tracy.
What? Well, Tracy now.
Yeah, she's the only one willing to glue herself to a police stand.
Yeah, so Daisy says that she can't do this. Adam quickly leaves, which allows Daniel to get all arsy about it, and he snatches the paperwork out of her hands. He says that they can postpone it, but Daisy says that she might never want to do this. And because of all the pressure that she's under, and because of all these things that are getting sprung on her,
Yeah, one right after the other.
she admits that she slept with Ryan. She explains that it happened once and it wasn't an affair. And he says that he knew this all along and knew that there was something going on. He was her hero and she was his rock after the acid attack. He thought it happened when her mum showed up, but she says it was before that and it wasn't important. And she's surprised that he seems to be taking it in his stride and he's
Right.
not jealous or angry
He's very
or shouting.
calm. Too calm.
She offers to move out, but he's worried that people will find out that he wasn't man enough to keep her. And this just brought me back to that.
Fuck you. What? What?
Men are scared that women will laugh at them, and women are scared that men will kill them. And
Yes.
this is that.
It is that.
She says everyone knows that she's punching above her weight. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the crew, you can hear everyone else in the street
Giggle.
just quietly giggling. He doesn't want her to go, so she says that she'll make it up to him, and maybe the Rovers isn't what they need, and maybe the adoption isn't what they need right now. Maybe he needs to know that she's there for him, not for a pub or a piece of paper.
Right.
But this seems to anger Daniel, who thinks that she thinks that he was trying to trap her, which he absolutely was.
Right. Yeah.
She says it was too...
And that's the only reason why he's mad at that.
Yeah. She says it was 2 huge commitments. He says if it was a test, she failed it. She says Ryan will be off to Glasgow soon and asks if he'll punch Ryan's lights out if he sees him.
And the crew starts giggling again in the background.
Just a little bit of laughter and chuckling. Daniel is a child and says that he'll be everywhere with these big cow eyes. Oh, don't look at me, now look at me. She's on his radar, and that's what counts. After all, the sex was amazing, wasn't it? And because this tells Daisy that Daniel
Already knew
all along.
Yep.
And the reason
And he saw the video.
And the reason he was so calm was because he already had his revenge by getting Ryan to lose that job.
Right.
She tries to block him leaving, but he pushes her against the wall
Yeah, what?
and shouts at her, accusing her of sneakily meeting him and that Ryan is a snake and a junkie and she should be grateful.
What? What is this? What is going on here? And she still wants to be with this person who's pushing her up against a wall.
Mm-hmm.
What? Mm-hmm. What?
He calms somewhat, but says he's done Ryan a favour. Daisy thinks Daniel is a hypocrite, suggesting that he wants to be the only tragic hero in the village. She calls him pathetic and cruel and leaves, and he makes an awful remark about her looking up a thesaurus or something like that, because
Right,
he
yeah.
has to be smarter than her, right?
Right, yeah.
And number 1, the Barlow men talk about Daisy in the past tense. Adam has met 100 Daisies and tells Daniel just to move on. Ken remembers that adoption papers were getting drawn up earlier.
Right, yeah.
Adam's coming across as a bit of a woman hater here.
Right, because let's remember 2 things. First of all, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, he was against Daisy from the very beginning. Remember? He didn't want Daniel to date her at all.
That's right.
He thought she was a cow from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So in all of this, he's probably taking a bit of joy out of this, thinking, I told you so.
He's definitely a Daisy hater.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that he's saying here are just
Terrible.
pure women hating stuff.
Pure woman hating.
Ken's more concerned about what Daniel's going to say to Bertie, and this shuts everyone up. So Daisy goes to Rita's. Jenny's not all that sympathetic, thinking Daniel's the injured party here, until Daisy turns on the waterworks and says that all Jenny cares about is the Rovers, which clearly is no longer going to be a goer. Jenny hugs Daisy and tells her everything will be all right. Meanwhile, Daniel is home alone and getting wired into the booze. Such a tortured soul because he's drinking heavily.
And he's staring longingly at Daisy's pink coffee cup because he picks up both cups at the same time.
Yeah, because people do that, right?
Right. And we know that this cup is Daisy's because it's pink and the other one is blue.
Pink to make the boys wink. On Friday, at Rita's, Daisy is trying to make herself feel better by blaming Simon and reckoning deliberate ignorance is a form of cheating. Jenny asks who she wants. Daisy just doesn't want this, so she gets ready to go and speak with Daniel. Meanwhile, Daniel is still raging to Ken about how much he hates Daisy. Ken wonders if his suspicions played into Ryan's hands and gets a mouthful of snash for his trouble. Ken knows that he's hurt and angry, but maybe he'll wish that he tried to work it out. Ken's oddly the voice of reason here.
Right. Well, that's because he's cheated on a lot of women in the past.
And knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
In the cabin, Carla goes in for some chewy, and Jenny lets slip about Daisy and Ryan and Daniel, and this is all news to Carla. Well done, Jenny. Adam drops in as Ken leaves and there's a buzz at the door. It's Daisy. Daniel throws both Adam and Ken out, and when Daisy comes in, she sees that Daniel has black bagged her already. Daisy wants to know if Daniel can forgive her. She loves him and Bertie, and she hates hurting them. Daniel asks if Daisy loves Ryan, and she admits, kinda, that, well, she doesn't answer it,
No.
which is kind of an admission.
Right.
But-
And then she tries to explain, well, I love him, but not in the way that I love you. I'm
Yeah.
not in love with him the
Right.
way I am in love with you. And it's the dumbest thing ever, because all you have to do is say no. You don't have to. There's a point. There's a point where you have to let honesty go, because he's never going to let you explain what you mean.
There's no right answer to the questions that he's asking her.
Right.
He's looking for reasons to be angry at her again.
Right. Yeah. He has no right to know how you actually feel about Ryan. All you have to do is say no.
Yeah, he needs to know how she feels about him,
Right.
and she's been very clear about that.
Yes. She's constantly saying,
With-
I choose you, Pikachu.
With no good reason. Yeah, so she says that she does kind of, but in a different way, just like Daniel loved Bethany in a different way to his dying wife. And this just about does it for Daniel, and he throws her stuff into the landing and slams the door in her face. Ryan must hear from Carla, so he finds Daisy in the community garden. Daisy explains the pub and Bertie stuff and how all of it was about Ryan, and Daniel did mess up his gym job after all, because we got to say gym job again.
Right.
She wants to be forgiven, but she keeps saying the wrong thing. Carla sees them and throws cold water on the two of them. Dirty girl, go to your bed.
Right. Yes. Because let's remember, this is all your fault. Ryan had nothing to do with it.
Right. Carla calls her a wrecking ball and thinks it's a matter of time before Crystal finds out, presumably when she goes to get some flying saucers from the cabin. Daisy goes into the cabin to complain to Jenny, who again points out that Daisy brings this on herself. Daisy would
Because it's all your fault, Daisy.
Daisy would like Jenny to be on her side for once. Jenny reckoned that the correct answer was no, I'm not in love with Ryan.
Right.
Says that Daniel was just looking for some security. Daniel and Adam go to the bistro so Adam can hate women a bit more. Ryan and Crystal come in, and immediately Daniel gets his back up and confronts him, pushes him until Adam intervenes. Ryan leaves, but Daniel gives chase, and we know it's serious because Daniel calls Ryan by his last name.
Right.
Crystal says something. Daniel sucker punches Ryan, and predictably, Ryan smashes Daniel's face. And would have smashed it more
Right.
if Adam didn't drag him away.
Right.
And then he and Daniel go away for some pastrami for some reason.
Oh, it's that sandwich. It's that sandwich that Adam brought him earlier that he hasn't eaten yet. The New York something.
New York sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal says something. Ryan explains that he wants to be with her, but Daniel fucked him over. Space, says Crystal, and Ryan is so confused what this means, he leaves her on her own.
Oh, you understood it when she said space.
Well, she shouted space, yeah. I think she's just so quiet and she mumbles. Debbie is the next to shout at Daisy in the middle of the street.
Because remember, it's all her fault.
Trouble follows you around, she says, and she tells Daisy about the fight. So Daisy goes to see Ryan. He's happy to take the black eye. Daisy realises this is all her fault, but Ryan thinks that he earned it and reckons Crystal will probably black the other one when she finds out. He's told her everything, even the fake Crystal stuff. Yikes, says
Yeah,
Daisy. She
seriously.
clutches her collar a little bit. It seems Crystal has asked for space, so now he has no idea what's going to happen next. He wants to get a plane to nowhere, and she says she'd like to go there too. But Ryan doesn't know what they would be like together. It's such a mess. It wouldn't work.
Nope.
She admits that she'd go back to Daniel if he took her. Ryan thinks Crystal deserves better than him, and he asks Daisy to leave. And of course, Adam sees her leave Ryan's.
Yeah.
But she goes to speak to Crystal in the bistro and tells her that Ryan wants to move on and he wants to do that with her. Crystal says something while Daisy continues to sell Ryan's greatness. So Ryan and Crystal meet outside Dev's later. He insists that he wants a new start with her and is sorry that he let her down. She gives him another chance and tells him that they're leaving in 2 days. Are you in-ski or are you out-ski?
And he's in ski.
Daisy goes to see Daniel and he refuses to let her in. She tells him that she wants to try it again and asks for another chance, and she's worried about him. But he knows that she went to see Ryan first, and this gets him angry and shouty again. And Daisy's starting to sound like an abused partner here as she begs for forgiveness. She tells him that she was trying to get him and Crystal back with each other, and this just makes matters worse.
Right. He's like, oh, so you went to her next instead of me. And meanwhile, Ryan punched him really hard in his face twice. He's got a teeny tiny bit of a fat lip, and that's it. He looks fine. Why is his face not completely messed up?
He should at least have some jam on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And she's trying to explain to him, well, Debbie said that Ryan was the one who was hurt. And and he doesn't want to hear it.
No.
And it's like he just doesn't want to hear it.
No.
He has to be the wounded party. He has to be the wounded party. All of this is her fault. Him wrecking the gym job.
Oh, please don't you start.
Is her fault. Mm-hmm. His fat lip is her fault. COVID is her fault.
She's right when she said to him that he wants to be the only injured party in the village or whatever it was that she said.
Yeah,
it was absolutely spot
absolutely.
on. So he finishes it for good, says that it's for Bertie's sake. Daisy cries, probably with relief at her lucky escape, but no doubt not. And that's how we end this week's episode.
And then she sees Crystal and Ryan happily giggling with one another and smooching, and then going into...
And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah. And then she's left all alone on the street.
Yeah.
And then a car runs over her.
And a dog pisses on her leg.
And then a hawk flies down and steals her hair.
And then she falls in a sinkhole.
And finds Johnny.
Who eats chili con carne without rice?
Everybody. Oh, what the fuck, man?
I mean, I've been waiting for this to happen for so long, and
Right.
I really don't think it disappointed that much. There are bits of it, I will agree with you, that the way that Daisy has taken the brunt of this
Right.
is typical for the show. But I enjoyed the blow up. I enjoyed the Daniel being such a fucking sleaze, and the way that he sucker punched Ryan was just despicable. And this recreation of Daniel as being this, I get what I want and you just follow me
Right.
sort of patter is so pish and
He's
and
always been this.
and exactly that. He's always been this asshole.
Right.
I'll never forget the scene when he was cutting about with Bethany after Sinead died.
Right.
And because people were giving him a hard time,
Right.
he stormed into the flat and he kicked Bertie's stroller across the room.
Right.
And I was like, that's not the actions of a man that's got his shit together.
Right.
There's something bubbling underneath here that is, he's an abuser in waiting. And that's what he's looking
and
like.
He is so pissed off when she mentions it. And he's like, how dare you? I just kissed her. I didn't have sex with her.
And that was about my pain. It was about his pain.
Right. Yeah.
Because of his pain.
Right.
That his wife was dying.
Right.
But his pain.
Right.
Meant that it was kind of
It was
forgivable
okay.
that he kissed.
It's okay for me to cheat because I'm a man and I didn't have sex.
And I had pain.
Right.
Recognize that.
Right.
Please.
Yes. And my wife was about to die anyway, so it was almost not even cheating.
Right.
Because she was almost dead.
If I'd waited a month, it'd have been fine.
It would have been fine.
And then I went back there a month later.
So bad. It's so bad.
I honestly don't understand how some people are sympathizing with Daniel and all this.
Because this is our society. We still live in a rape culture. We still live where toxic masculinity is okay and is honored by so many people. This is why we're probably going to get another Trump presidency.
This feels more like
It's so
a Corrie
terrible.
1990s storyline.
Yeah.
A kind of Kev who cheats on Sally when she's away helping her dying mum.
Right.
So Kev has an affair
Right.
and blames Sally because she was away.
Right.
It has
Yeah.
those kind of feels to
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Where, all right, so Daisy and Ryan had this liaison.
Right. Once.
They've had this connection since the acid attack that
Mm-hmm.
that Brainbox Daniel has recognised that this
Right.
exists, and rather than try to take a step back from it,
Mm-hmm.
or cool things, or recognise the magnitude of this
Or
connection
try
that they
to be
have.
supportive of it instead of acting like a little jealous bitch.
Well, he even says that he tried to be friends with Ryan and call him mate and all that
Right,
sort of stuff,
yeah.
but you always hated him. And that's the problem. You always hated him.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of it is he hates him because he was the one who saved Daisy and he was the one who got the community's sympathy and support afterwards. You know, Daniel would only be happy if he was the one who got the acid in the face.
Yeah.
That's the only way he'll ever be happy is if somebody throws acid in his face.
We go back 12 months and Daisy has her breast cancer scare, which
Right.
kind of started the whole stalker thing off. But
Right.
But Daniel was wholly unsupportive
No.
during all that
Yeah.
and made that about him. And, you know, the warning signs have been there.
All along.
I don't know that it was ever going to end any other way. Daisy and Ryan had to have this
Right.
liaison. There was no way that it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And maybe it was just a case of just saying, look, this, so much has happened to her.
Uh-huh.
Her head's all over the place.
Right.
Maybe the best thing for her at the moment is for them just to cool everything down and
Right.
and maybe just forget about the engagement for now. And if we
Right.
still feel like we're destined to be together a year from now, then fair enough. But I think she's got some serious trauma that she needs to work through
Yes, she does.
before any relationship can be really
Right.
discussed in serious terms. This has been a huge event for her and for Ryan.
Right.
But he's not done that. And instead he's forcing her to...
Make a decision.
And it's not just the Rovers and it's not just Bertie. He's got her moving house and he's
Right.
he's just throws things at her too. Which just confuses her even more. She's looking for something to settle down.
Right.
And his response to this is just to throw everything up in the air.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, how could this end any other way?
Right. Because the whole thing about buying Tim's mom's flat, you know, he's like, I've already gotten, you know, the wheels turning for this. And she's like, I thought we agreed we were going to cool it on this and we were going to think about it.
And then just moved in together into the young crew flat.
And he's so offended by this. He's so offended and so insecure in himself that he gets mad at her for wanting to be responsible. And you're right. He has not given her an opportunity to really work through her trauma at all.
No.
And it's funny because everybody has been so concerned about Ryan's trauma and helping Ryan get over his trauma. And the show is focused so much on Ryan's trauma that Daisy's trauma has kind of been swept under the rug a wee bit.
Because Ryan wears his trauma on his face every day.
Right. Whereas she can cover it up with a shirt.
Right.
And also he's a man. So we're more concerned about his emotions.
Well, sure. He has to learn something about himself as well.
Right, yes. Let's not forget. This is the man who pushed his father down the stairs.
The warning signs are there. I mean, they're there if you look for them, people. He's a bad person.
This is the man who drove Chesney so crazy, he hit himself with a brick.
On this day. This is Chesney hit self and face with brick day.
That's not what my Facebook memory said to me.
It is the 15th, and today's the 15th. If Daniel wanted to do anything, and this maybe wouldn't have worked either, but moving away, moving into his mum's house, wherever his mum's house is.
Right.
Go live there.
Yeah.
Get away from Weatherfield. Get away from the memory and the visual clues to what happened.
And the trauma.
And start to heal. But he moves to the young crew flat, then talks about moving to Red Bank, and then talks about going back to the pub, and doesn't know why going back to the pub might not be a great idea.
Yeah. For someone who is supposedly so very smart, he's an idiot.
Seriously. And we've said this a million times before.
Yeah.
For a supposed smart person, he sure is an idiot.
Right. Yeah, he's book smart, but like the emotional maturity is just not there.
May well Ryan, I mean, he probably instigated this as much as Daisy did.
Oh, no. Ryan totally instigated this. Remember, Daisy kept saying no, and Ryan kept saying to her, your no actually means yes, so I'm going to hound you until you sleep with me.
Right.
He was awful, too.
She's hounded him before.
But not for this.
No.
She was hounding him to get him off of, wanking off in front of a camera and doing drugs.
But this week she says to him as well about maybe staying is the best idea and all that sort of thing.
Right.
When he says to her about, does your head hurt when you spin round so many times because...
Right. And she doesn't hear it in herself, too, because she's like, I'm not like that.
Mm-hmm. But here, he at least finally seems to realise the value of getting away from Weatherfield.
Right.
And going with Crystal, who for some reason, and maybe she says why, I don't know, some reason she sticks around and she's got him this job.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out in 6 months, then fine, but at least he's doing something that's kind of positive by closing that chapter and starting a new one.
And he's the one who says, we would never work.
Right.
He's the one who says that. So great. He got what he wanted. He got to sleep with her. And now it's over.
Right.
Because he got what he wanted. No, cheating is always bad, but it's worse when you're a woman.
Let's keep an eye on Adam and Daniel here, because the way that the two of them are at the moment is they're kind of fueling each other's misogyny here. And it's only going to get worse if those two are together friendly.
You know who I feel the worst for? Is Simon. He's served his purpose, and now he's gone again.
Never saw him again, yeah. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Well, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, you've known it for a while. What was your moment of the week?
Plat chat.
Was it Plat Chat?
Plat chat.
Them all standing in the kitchen?
Yes, it can't be anything but Plat chat. It was so funny. And like you said, Gail is so funny in that scene and she's not even in it.
So it's not the big emotional drama.
It's Plat chat.
That is our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Your boring moment of the week. I don't really think it was Ken this week. I thought Ken actually was fairly sensible. And I don't think it was Daniel. And I probably don't think it was Adam either.
You don't think it was Ken saying that will be the best present Bertie's ever had?
No, I don't think so.
Is getting adopted when he doesn't even know that Daisy isn't his mum already?
No. It might be Ruby with her drums. I don't want it to give it to Ruby. That feels cruel.
Is it Sam's triangle?
Well, that's cruel as well.
Yeah. Because we don't even get to hear it.
Is it Gary hanging about just so he can kick a door in? It's the only reason he turned up on set that day, so he could kick a door in.
Yeah, because he's not in the show the rest of the week.
Did he say anything? Did he have any lines? He had a couple of lines, I think.
He did. Because, like, he had to ask Dev why he was outside.
Right.
Is it Dev forgetting his keys?
Yeah, Dev forgot his keys. That's our...
Boring moment of the week.
There we go. It was actually a pretty good one this week. So when I'm asking you what your score out of 10 was, what'd you rank?
7.
Oh, a big improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 7, maybe a 7.5.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. I especially enjoyed Wednesday and Friday. I thought it was good stuff. There was good stuff this week. There was a nice little balance, and even though the storylines weren't my top tier storylines, I mean, we did get Eliza and Stu.
Right.
They were better versions of
better,
themselves.
yeah.
So yeah,
And no bullying.
no bullying, thank God.
Thank God. And no shitting more on the Winter Browns this week.
Right.
So-
Yeah. In that case, yeah, I think I'm giving it a 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be higher if the show wasn't so misogynistic.
Right.
Do better. Hire more women.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, and Christy. If you've ever confused kabuki with bukkake,
Oh God. Why would you bring that back up?
that's callback of the week. Write in to tell us.
Other week.
Write in to tell us about it. We'll talk. In fact, don't write in to tell us
Please
about
don't.
it. And certainly don't send in the images.
No.
We'll talk of the street at gmail.com, and
Don't
we're at
Google
Corrie
it.
Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and the Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to
Please.
ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of boggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice, and be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Yeah, we are on vacation from the list of lists at the
Still
moment.
check it out. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week, maybe, with more
Now talk of the street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.